Okay, it's episode 2. We're
Woohoo!
back.
Hi guys.
Hello, everybody. Okay, this week we've got an awesome episode for you. I don't know if any of you've heard of Lyra, but Laura and I are going to be discussing the constellation of Lyra. There's a lot of tiny little planets in Lyra. Kind of the farthest reach of this universe is where the little constellation of Lyra exists. And there's a few, planets you may or may not have heard of. There's Avion, however you want to pronounce it. But Avalon is very important because, Laura, you know a lot about this, the Avalon template of consciousness that we're trying to recreate here on planet Earth at the moment. And that's, playing out in our consciousness now in Earth. And I think, for me, and I think we spoke about this a few weeks ago, I feel like Earth is the comeback planet for all Lyrans that were in the reptilian war and saw their planets being destroyed and destructed by the reptilians. Because Earth is very similar to Avalon in vegetation, topography, that sort of thing. And, there's a lushness of resources here. And it would be the most similar planet to Avalon. Avalon was like Earth, but on 5D steroids.
It was amazing. So, Avalon, like in the records, when you see Avalon in the Akashic records, it's really, it's giving those Avatar vibes, isn't it? It's that beautiful, lush rainforest, waterfalls, lots and lots of natural resources, which was super important because, the reason why the constellation of Lyra was chosen as the start of human consciousness in this universe was because it was a constellation that looked like it would be able to sustain physical life. So we've got, the Elohim decided to come into our universe and basically put consciousness into physical form, which happened over, I don't even know how many years it would have happened over, but it wasn't a situation, I don't think, where consciousness went straight into a physical form. And I believe, like my understanding is, the first physical form on Lyra were the felines, the Lyran felines. They're the most ancient, right? Yeah. So I think what happened over time, they were etheric for a little while, which means they would have looked translucent, and then over time, over probably millions of years, they ended up becoming a physical form into the Lyran felines.
And this is what the Lyrans are so good at. They're master geneticists.
Yes.
Okay? So if you think you may be a Lyran Starseed and you're listening to this, and you start to make more sense to yourself, this is why they're master creators. So the Elohim were very, they're co-creator energy. So they come off from source, and their main intention and objective is to create life and create existence, co-create on behalf of the creator or source or God energy, right? And so when they created the feline humanoid, which is most of us, we're representing today the feline genetics.
If you can't, guys, if you're not watching the video and you're just listening, we're in our leopard print representing. That's a little clue, isn't it? That's always a little tip off for a Lyran. We love our animal print, our leopard print.
Yeah. And do you know what's really funny? Lauren and I did not coordinate or talk about our outfits. As obvious as it looks, we did not coordinate.
We did not.
Outfits today.
No, we did talk about a lot of other things before this session, but that wasn't it. To be fair, I am in leopard print for a fair chunk of the week. So
nice. I like that. She's representing her Lyran soul origin.
I am.
Okay, so they're master geneticists. They wanted to create, they actually created the first humanoid. So basic humanoid template for Earth, the genetic template.
Yeah.
The Lyrans created that, right? So, you know, obviously we don't look feline. We were a new experiment, okay? We were a brand new experiment, and Earth was a brand new experiment, but they created humanoid-looking beings in the constellation of Lyra. And so, Loren, do you want to discuss some of the other species or the other beings that the Lyrans created and had in the constellation over the few planets that were there?
Yeah, so sure. So basically, I think the ones that you're referring to as sort of the first proper humanoids were Nordic. So they looked really quite Nordic. And we do see the Nordics, you know, in other constellations as well, but that's where they originated, right? So we've got the Nordics in the Pleiades as well, that they're a very prominent being there. So when we're talking about Nordics, they're very large, they're very tall, aren't they? The Nordics, they're a large being, and they look very Scandinavian. So we've got, you know, really light skin.
This is where the Palladians originated from, correct, Loren?
Right.
The Lyrans created the Palladian humanoids. So
absolutely,
the original creators.
They are, so they've got really, you know, fair features, sort of blonde hair, quite striking features. Probably the best looking humanoids in the galaxy, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
They're very attractive. So we have that group of humanoids. Before that, after the felines, we had the avians come in. So the avians are bird-like humanoid species.
They're beautiful.
So they are beautiful.
I've seen them in deep meditation, and they're one of the first. They're one of the first species that I did view in meditation. Wow. So you can imagine my shock when I see this huge bird-like creature with legs and arms, and a plethora of rainbow feathers. Bounding through trees, like climbing trees, jumping branch to branch. And the jungle that I viewed was absolutely stunning. It was like a rainbow of colors. And so when I saw this, I'm like, what is this? I mean, it feels familiar, but what is this? It looks so beautiful. My mind is creating so many amazing things. But then after viewing, you know, a few more of these scenes in Lyra, I started to realize I'm learning a lot more. Deep in meditation in the Akashic records, I realized that these are actual beings that exist in the universe. They're very high vibrational. I think they're about 12D, correct, Loren?
I
think they're at the same vibration as the Elohim, right?
Yeah, right. Okay.
Right. And the avian beings, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think they came from another universe into this universe.
I believe that's correct.
Created, but they settled in Lyra, and they're benign. We have to differentiate for everybody between the benign and the not so benign. And I like to call them service to others / service to self type consciousness. And so
Lyra was a service to others constellation. And we've also had too the blue vegan. In Lyra as well.
Who the Elohim did create as well. Correct? The Lyrans created the vegans.
And they were,
what do they look like?
So, well, they're blue. Gives it away. So they're blue beings. So they basically look like blue aliens. And they're the blue vegans were very peaceful and their focus was, I guess this is the interesting thing about Lyra is there was such a mix of species on different planets. So it's about 14 planets, we think, in the Lyra constellation, but it's still considered quite a small constellation. I'm not sure if all of those planets were habitated by species. I'm not sure of that.
But we don't know enough.
We don't know enough. Yeah.
The only species I know myself and other Akashic readers have seen in the records are the avians, the feline Lyrans, the humanoid Lyrans, and the vegans, the blue vegans. So the interesting thing about the blue skin vegans, and they're humanoid as well, they're very warrior looking, like it's kind of similar to the avatar look, but more similar to the deities in the Vedic text.
That's correct.
So the Hindu deities, like Vishnu and Shiva. I've seen them a lot in the records, and they are actually vegan beings that did visit Earth and interact with the humans here at some point. And this is where the Hindu tradition has picked up on all these blue-skinned beings that are attributed to so many. They've got the arms coming out of the body, and each arm is doing a different kind of objective. So it's interesting if we look at the major religions in this world and how much ET life has affected each different religion in different ways.
Absolutely. And that was a big part of the role of the blue vegans in Lyra, was their focus was on spirituality and healing. Where the other species had different focuses. The Lyran felines had a real physicality with what they were doing, and they did things like, invent fire, introduce fire to Earth.
That's huge.
Things like that, it's huge. And they were very, and there was a really big, because of the resources on Lyra, and that's why it was chose to be developed that way. There was water and vegetation, so there was a really, really big agricultural focus on Lyra. So they had really, really advanced agricultural systems, and I guess that is one of the reasons why they were targeted by the reptilians. So when we're talking about reptilians, they're not benevolent beings.
Some
of them can be, but
now we've got a lot of the reptilians starting to switch into service to other mode in the universe, because they're after many years of war. The intergalactic wars, they're starting to switch. So we can't just judge a book by its cover, but it's good to not understand our history, because in a way it's playing out here on Earth, and so we need to be educated and aware.
And I think that's and that's the thing too, is that we've got Earth is so similar to some of the planets in Lyra. There's particularly in Australia, we're a really large agricultural country. So most of our export is from agriculture in Australia, but we're also we've also got incredible natural resources as well. So we have those similarities kind of playing out. But I guess with the reptilians sort of coming in anywhere in the universe or the galaxy, and from my understanding, the reptilians were picked out of wherever they originated from, and that's how they've ended up in the universe. So they've been sent into the naughty corner into our universe, and they've gathered strength and numbers and decided to kind of wreak havoc. So the reptilians also were or are master geneticists. So but they're service to self. So they're always looking when they're going into kind of sort of attack, they're doing it because they're looking for resources. So the resources could be DNA, genetics, or it could be natural resources, which is what was happening in Lyra.
because where they were from, they depleted all the resources on their planets in their universe, and the benign beings in their universe said, all right, you're not coming after us and our resources, get the heck out of here. And them being more advanced than the beings in our universe at that stage had the power to get rid of them through the portal. And so they entered into our universe looking for a place or places, planets to stay, and to ones that were lush in resources so they could do it all again. And unfortunately, the constellation of Lyra was the first constellation they entered through into this universe, because I believe there is a portal there from this universe, like a Stargate portal from this universe to the next. So they came in through there, and I have very, very vivid memories of what happened, because I haven't told a lot of people this, so it's out of the bag now. Everyone keeps asking me, tell us your story, tell us your story.
You got to do it, Izzy.
I got to do it.
Brilliant story. It's a big story. Yeah. I would say disclaimer before you tell your story, and this is what's tricky about, I guess, starseeds who have originated from Lyra, and many of us have, because it's, it was the start of the universe, right? So at some point we've probably, we've probably been there. But for people who are able to access their memories of Lyra, because of what happened there, it can be incredibly traumatic, and it can be traumatic to see that in the records, be told about it, or to have to retell it as well. So there's trauma signatures that are carried through. And if you just think about that, like in terms of carrying ancestral trauma, which we know as human beings that we do, it's the same thing. It carries through our DNA.
Absolutely. And I'm about to tell you this story, but it took me, Lauren knows, it took me months to clear through the trauma that came through this lifetime, which was probably billions of years ago. And I was telling Lauren over the weekend, and I think a client of mine as well, I was majorly triggered by 9/11. Okay. And I was in my teens, so I was in my late teens when 9/11 happened, and the amount of anxiety and fear that scenario caused me was like next level. And I'd never been an anxious child, always a happy-go-lucky, easygoing child, but it triggered something in me. And for me now, looking back, I know it was seeing the scene of 9/11 and New York being attacked from the sky is what triggered my trauma signature from my lifetime in Lyra. And so basically what I remember now that I've, gone through several spiritual awakenings and done a lot of current and past life healing, is when I was in Lyra, myself and actually my husband, who I'm incarnated with here now, who was there with me, were partners as well, which is interesting. Decided to partner up again for more fun and games.
we probably could do a whole podcast on you and Kenny, couldn't we? Over the years, all the different incarnations.
Oh, it'll come up. I'm sure there's more to unravel. And we were kind of benevolent rulers in Avalon. I was I don't know, you've seen what I've looked like in the records, Lauren. So I would say I was somewhat part feline, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like a feline humanoid, definitely, but like a white feline humanoid.
A white lion. So a white lion. And Ken was like that sandy, dusty Lyran humanoid. And so we benevolently ruled over this beautiful planet, and we had a lot of different looking beings on this planet at that time. And Ken and I were in charge of kind of sending beings out, charging them on our planet via the crystals. We had some very powerful crystal technology, and then sending them out to planets close by that were ready for their next ascension stage, so that our beings could go and help them activate through light their crystal grids, and then get them to the next stage of ascension. So that's basically what our function was, and we're kind of overseen by a council to keep us in check. The council even got us together in terms of uniting as the male and the female counterparts. And everything that I did, I was kind of amplifying Kenny's activity. So it's kind of like direct source line to pure line to source, which meant that I had an access to an energy that was very powerful. So I would amplify everybody's good stuff around me. So that was my role. That was Ken's role. I do remember the day that the reptilians arrived, and I remember slightly some things leading up to them arriving. And I do believe that there was some initial trickery, I would say, where they came through and they made themselves out to be wanting to negotiate. We'll give you this if you give us that, because they were trying to scope out what we had and, you know, how we worked and what technology we had in case they wanted to attack, to know where our weak spots were, right? And I know Ken, my partner at the time, was, you know, part of those negotiations. And I remember feeling dread because I didn't trust them. And there was a lot of other female felines that were in my, were like me, where they were having that, you know, feminine intuitive hit of something bad is about to happen and we can't trust these people, we have to be careful. So the thing is, you've got to understand the consciousness of this universe. When the reptilians came in, we had never in the history of this universe experienced the victim versus victor consciousness. We only knew balance, right?
Yeah, or manipulation.
Or manipulation. It's the real narcissistic energy, the manipulation and the control, right, is what they brought into this universe. So we were, you know, fairly naive.
Absolutely.
Not knowing that a victim could exist, the victim consciousness could exist, and the narcissism and the manipulation and the control. We weren't used to that, okay? And so we were, of course, open to negotiate. But then what happened is eventually they did come in and attack, and they came through the sky. And I remember their ships coming in and them coming in to destroy us all. And they killed as much as they could and reaped as much as they could. But eventually the warring, and they took as much as they could, and then they blew up the planet. They blew up a whole planet. They had the technology to do that. And I remember just before the planet blew up, that I was beamed up into a white, bright light onto a spaceship. And it was the beautiful Palladians that had sent a craft over to come get me. And we're yet to just understand exactly why. I think, Loren, you might know a little bit more, because it was Lauren's crew that came to collect me. And unfortunately, I remember very clearly looking out the window of this spaceship and seeing my planet blow up. And I had children on that planet. I had a husband, I had friends, I had people. And so that trauma and that heartbreak has stayed with me for a very long time. Imagine your whole civilization being completely obliterated. And you know what? I think a lot of us here that incarnating now on Earth have this sort of trauma in us, because there has been many wars on Earth, but off planet too. So when I do see a client in for past life therapy, when I'm looking into their records, I always check to see if there's anything like this that needs to be cleared, because a lot of us would resonate with this story. A lot of us would be triggered by our homes being taken, exactly like what's happening in Palestine and Israel right now. Our homes being taken, being attacked for no reason, our resources being reaped, violence. So it's important that we as a collective start doing the clearing on a micro level and the healing behind that, and uniting and seeing each other as all of us needing healing and needing to unite. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, you know, that is a way that we can indirectly but kind of directly assist what's happening on Earth at the moment, is by doing our own healing work. clearing our own trauma signatures so that we're not being triggered anymore and we're able to be of service in a different way and be in service not from our wounds, basically.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
thank you for sharing that. That's a big one. Well, I haven't, I haven't been able to access my Lyran lifetime properly because I think that whatever happened, I'm not ready to see yet. So we also see that too, don't we, when we're working with people? There can be blocks around it and with ourselves as well. Like we're on our own healing journey, and I know that I was there. I've seen Avalon numerous times, but I also know something, horrific happened, and I'm not ready to heal that yet. So it will pop up when it's ready.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, all of us can go through this, guys. If you're getting bits and pieces of memories in meditation or in a reading and stuff is blotted out, it's because your consciousness is not ready to bring it forth. And it's, Loren, we know, as healers, the both of us, we see this in our clients, that things come up in layers when they're ready to be healed, right? It's like peeling the onion. One thing comes up, we deal with that, and you're ready to let that go, and then maybe later on something else comes up, and that's just ready to go then.
Yeah, and that's how we have to work with trauma. We can't do it all at once because, for want of a better word, it would be too traumatic. So we shift our trauma in layers, and we clear that, and then we see what's ready to come up next.
Absolutely. And this is why working with a healer over a long period of time, periodically, is always the best way to go, because you're doing it in a really, loving, nurturing way that is nurturing for your mind and your body. Whereas opposed to, I would say, use maybe ayahuasca as an example, right, Lauren? There's nothing wrong with it, but if you're doing it over 2-3 days, it can be quite, violent in some sense. For some people,
I agree.
And it comes up a lot, will come up quite quickly, and you really have to do those things with people who are, know what they're doing and how much to administer and all of that sort of thing.
Definitely. And I think it's that thing we are living in a world at the moment where we want everything quickly, like with our advancement in technology, like you can Google the answers to everything. And you and I are from a generation where we've lived part of our life without that technology. So I'm giving away our age now, but like we've had totally. We've had part of our life where we haven't, and now we're living in this world where everything happens so quickly. So people want that with their healing as well. And that it can be quite dangerous. I'm definitely someone who likes to take a softer, gentle approach. I do not want my clients leaving feeling like they're going to go home and be in the fetal position, because we've got to function as human beings as well. People have got to go home and feed their kids and get ready for work. And so I think that's a really important, the healing journey is long, and at times it can be tedious, and at times it's magnificent. But once you start doing work on yourself, and you sort of commit to that, you're doing that for the rest of your incarnation here on Earth, basically.
Absolutely.
And it's not quick.
Powerful. Yeah, definitely. Anyone that tells you it is,
don't run a mile.
And that you don't have to do any work. Run a mile. That's it.
Run a mile.
All right. What's next on the agenda, Lauren?
We should talk about, I was going to talk about some of the issues that Lyrans or Lyrans face on Earth at the moment. So for those people that are playing out their Lyran template on Earth, there's so many things that we can talk about, but I think we'll talk about probably the emotional stuff first, and then we'll shift into the physical stuff. So like I was saying before, we definitely have that that sort of pattern of the intergenerational trauma kind of playing out. So the things that we sort of see, the trauma signatures that we see coming from Lyra are things like abandonment wounds and the persecution wound as well, I would say, are probably the two big ones. Obviously the abandonment wound, because for any Lyrans who had to flee or, ended up being refugees or have had to leave their family, we've got that kind of playing out. And then the persecution wound is massive because, like you were saying before, they were a constellation that lived without persecution for billions of years, and didn't even know what that was. So to have a whole other species come in and take over like that, and for them to be persecuted for no reason at all, that's a huge one. And that's something that I see all the time in my work, is this persecution wound with Lyran Starseeds. And I think you would see it. I think the other things that we kind of have happening, and this is so common, is that feeling of homesickness. And I know I definitely, until I found out that I had Lyran heritage, I was somebody who had felt homesick my whole life, right? And this isn't just for Lyrans. Like, a lot of starseeds feel like this. They feel really, really homesick. And it's a really odd sensation because, you can in some sense feel like you belong here, but there's a yearning for somewhere else and you don't necessarily know where that is. And particularly for Lyrans, the homesickness is amplified because their planets have been blown up and destroyed, right? So they're not there anymore. So they can't go back. Yeah. Right? Yeah. So we have that playing out. And also, I guess it's that sense of feeling like you don't belong, like that feeling of not belonging or kind of not fitting in or not knowing where you fit. Again, because we've got, a whole constellation that's been destroyed, basically. And then I think if we look at sort of maybe some of the physical things that we sort of see happening, there is a classic pattern that I'll talk about, but before that, I think nightmares are really big too with Lyrans because of the trauma that they went through. So night terrors and nightmares. And it's something that you kind of see with people that haven't necessarily experienced trauma in their human incarnation, but it's coming through that way while they're sleeping. We also see the nervous system dysregulation as well because of all the stress that they went through.
I can speak for myself, and I know I see this in some of my other Lyran clients too. My skin is the first thing to react when I'm under stress. Or my immune system is under the weather. It always comes out in the skin. It's like my body's attacking itself. My immune system is attacking itself. When I'm under stress or I'm a rundown or something.
But that's exactly that's the pattern I was going to talk about, is the autoimmune cascade. So what we sort of see happen is, Lyrans are really, we see all the autoimmune disorders with Lyrans, right? And what's super interesting, this is something that I learned off Debbie Solaris, who's a very famous galactic historian. Debbie's a queen. We love her. Debbie, we love amazing. She's awesome. She's incredible. You guys should check out her stuff. She's amazing.
Follow her page.
Read all. She's got great resources on her website, which are free, that you can look at. But when I heard Debbie explain this, everything just kind of clicked for me with what I had been seeing and what I'd been through personally as well. So basically, she said that there's usually with Lyrans, there's usually a catalyst that happens. So that could be like some sort of trauma. It could be like an illness, a relationship breakdown, a death in a family, whatever it is, right? So some sort of big catalyst happens where the person had previously been well and functioning, and then as soon as that catalyst happens, they're sick, right? So they start getting that we call it, in medicine, we call it an autoimmune cascade, where we get an autoimmune disease that's triggered, and then what can happen from there is once one autoimmune disease is triggered, we get more conditions that are triggered as well. So I'm talking about things like, with autoimmune conditions, the thyroid conditions, like Hashimoto's, things like rheumatoid arthritis, celiac disease, any of our kind of big sort of autoimmune stuff. Your skin is definitely affected, right? Our skin's our largest external organ. So if we've got stuff happening internally, and our body's not coping, it will look for exit points throughout the skin. So it is really common. So basically, Debbie was saying Lyrans are fine 1 minute, and then the next minute they're not, and then they're really, really sick. And that was definitely my experience. And then that's the trauma signatures from Lyra being triggered, basically. So for people to get better and work through that, obviously there's a huge physical component, but there's a huge emotional component as well, of doing that emotional and energetic work around that to clear those signatures, to help them get better. And it can take a really long time. Like, that's the other thing. So it's super, super fascinating. And basically I think too with Lyrans, it's like anything that's causing inflammation, like any inflammatory condition.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right?
Inflammation, because it's like energy, like you said, energy trying to escape the body, the physical body that we're trapping. We're trapping in energy in ourselves, in our being, and it just needs to go, and you release that. And maybe we want to talk about ways we can get ourselves back into equilibrium. There's so many different, techniques and modalities that you can use if you feel like this is you and you're going through a very stressful period. You need, what I say to my clients is, we need to create you an energy toolbox that's specific to you. So many different things many different things that we can use to get ourselves back into that we don't really learn at school. We don't really learn at uni.
We all need an energy toolbox. And what I think I love about the idea of an energy toolbox is, you can have a few different things in there that you can kind of try and play around with, and different things will resonate and suit different people. So I think too, when you're really sort of struggling, pick the things that resonate with you the most, that you're more likely to stick to, right?
So true.
So different things that you can do to, I guess, if we're looking at nervous system regulation, breath work would be the number one. Basically, it's the quickest way to bring your nervous system back into balance. So you can do like any breath work technique where you've got an exhale longer than the inhale is really, really quick and effective. So like a 4-7-8 breath. Or even, so you're in for 4, hold for 7, out for 8, or like a box breath. So you do 4 seconds around a square. So you're in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, hold for 4. So anywhere where there's holds in the breath are really, really good as well. So that's, if you can kind of practice that regularly, that will help bring your nervous system sort of back into balance. Yeah.
Awesome. A really quick one that I give, I do with my kids, is grounding outside. So we go to the park with our shoes off and just run around and just absorb the energy from the earth, because it's so powerful. It's such a nurturing energy. It's life force energy. That
and
kind of gets us back.
We were talking about this in terms of the sand and the beach as well. Really, really important. Walking barefoot on sand recharges everything.
This is a new one. Yes, a new one. Lauren and I discovered a couple of weeks back through I just did a channeling of your higher self, didn't I? Your higher self
really fun.
Has so much wisdom. Like your higher self is my favorite being to connect with, because she's got such great healing advice for starseeds, right? Healing advice for most people. But so Lauren's higher self told us about the effect of sand on the bare feet by the ocean. and the ions. She kept saying it's the ions. It's the ions that's going to help Loren. Because do you want to explain what you were feeling?
Yeah, definitely. It was after the last, coming out of the big sort of eclipse season, and I've been doing some sessions in the system, and I was definitely going through a very big upgrade, just on all levels, but I was really, really feeling it physically. So I was experiencing quite a lot of fatigue, and just more fatigue than what I normally would. And it was going on for a little while, and I had a fair idea of what was happening, but I just got Susie to sort of check in just to see if there was anything that I could be doing to sort of help manage it. And obviously the first thing my higher self said was drink more water, guys, right? We all need to drink more water. Yeah. Unless you've got a medical condition that doesn't allow you to drink lots of water. As evolving starseeds, we need to be drinking way more water, like just double whatever you're drinking.
The energy in the water. Like, I hope you're all drinking triple filtered water, by the way. I don't want to know if you're here. If you guys are drinking tap water still in this day and age, oh my goodness, don't come near me.
No, no, definitely filtered water. But, like water's a conductor for energy, right? So
it's a powerful transmuter of emotions that are stuck, or energy that is stuck in the body.
Yeah. Yes, that was the first thing. And then the second thing was this thing about the sand, which was super, super interesting. And it's not something that consciously I had thought of. And so I've been doing that, and I feel a lot better.
Yeah, amazing, incredible. And this was just over a couple of weeks as well. To feed your fatigue. And Loren, you're someone who's had chronic fatigue in the past, so this sort of thing is important for you to stay on top of. And the fact that you nipped it in the butt really quickly is incredible, with just a bit of slight adjustment to your schedule, because you're already walking outdoors, grounding every day.
I just wasn't doing it on the
right side of the fence. Your higher self was like showing you how you're walking along, like, and the beach is parallel, but it's on the other side of the fence. And she's like, tell her to go onto the sand, get off the grass, go onto the sand, by the beach, other side of the fence.
How funny. It was so funny. But they're little things that you can do. I just want to jump back to when we were talking about, because this is a super interesting one, and I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Susie. Talking about sort of physical conditions that Lyrans suffer from. I have a bit of a theory that, and I probably will need some more time and to see some more cases for this to play out, but I've noticed a pattern of female Lyrans having reproductive conditions. So,
oh my goodness, I did.
Yeah,
I did.
Me too.
Definitely.
Me too.
In my team. Endometriosis, polycystic ovarian syndrome. Blood sugar issues. Like, I would have to go on a low GI diet to keep my blood sugar. And I wasn't massively overweight or anything, but my blood sugars were spiking and causing cysts in my ovaries. They told me I was going to have heaps of fertility issues. Oh my goodness, it's so common these days, isn't it?
Yeah, it's common. And I do really think, with the cases I've seen, there is a bit of a pattern of that happening with female Lyran Starseeds. And that's something that I'm going to try and figure out over time. And I'll keep you guys posted on, the links and stuff, because I'm a little science nerd at heart. I've got to try and figure it all out, why it's all happening. But that's just something to keep in mind. It's just, and that's a lot of our work, and a lot of our conversations are around patterns that we see form, aren't they?
Yeah, because between the both of us, we're seeing quite a few clients per week over the I don't know how many years between us. And we are noticing patterns, and it's good because then it helps us with the next person that comes along, and the next person, etc. And you and I are forever going, oh my goodness, guess what I saw this week? I saw this in this center, and this means that or the other. Lo and behold, a few days later, you find someone with the same problem, and
I know,
discovered something new.
I know. This is how we work. It's like doing an apprenticeship, being a healer. Like, we're just on a permanent apprenticeship. Just figuring out all the time
I think for the both of us, the EE system is definitely what's supercharging our abilities and the depth and breadth of things that we are able to find in a client's energy field is just expanding. For me, I can say it's expanding rapidly. I know you too, Loren. This year has been a change year for you too, where you learn new stuff. And you think you've learnt it all, and then boom, in comes, for example, a month ago, someone with a spiritual reptilian tail stuck in their root chakra.
We saw that, didn't we? Oh, guys.
And I'm like, just on that note, when I see something I've never seen before, I stop what I'm doing when I'm doing a healing, and I say, all right, higher self, come in, higher self. What is this? And the higher self will tell me, this person's been marked for reptilian slavery through the ages, through the timeline. It's like a beacon so that they can pick up on his scent and use him for their deeds. And I'm like, right, pull it out. Yep, let's go. Pull, done. Learn something new.
I know.
This stuff is happening. It is happening.
That's wild, isn't it? Being a healer is a wild job. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. Some days I'm like, it's like the Wild West out there.
It absolutely is. And look, if you're a healer and you don't have other healers around you to bounce off ideas, to share with, who are on your vibration, who have the same pure intentions as you, you need to find your people. And I guess, Loren, this is one of the reasons why Ken and I decided to create the Starseed Power Circles at the Single Energy Healing Hub. And they've been super, super popular. We're going to have to take it out of the center and into a wall,
you need a bigger space.
We do need a bigger space because everybody's dying to get in and join the circles, the Starseed Power Circles. You get to meet other healers, you get to meet other practitioners that are doing
other
work.
Starseeds.
And other Starseeds, and they don't have to be healers, but they could be doing creative work, creative endeavors.
I love that. I love meeting the ones that are doing different work to us. I get so excited by that. You know? It's really, really cool.
Some of the projects that people are Starseeds are working on at the moment, they're gonna change the world.
Building a new world. It's incredible, and it's super exciting. What a time to be alive.
Absolutely, we're ready for the shift. We're here for the shift. We bought our popcorn.
That's it. I've always got the popcorn going. Hey, should we talk about what we're going to speak about next week?
Yeah, absolutely. What do we have in store, Loren? What do we decide
we're going to do? We were going to do something else, but we've changed tack a little bit. We're going to look at starseed traits.
Right.
So different starseed personality traits, even physical traits. We might even look at different starseed traits from different constellations. I think that could be fun.
I think I think a lot of people will be listening to this going, oh, what about the Syrians? Oh, what about the Nantuckans? So guys, next week, next podcast is the one to tune into if your starseed hasn't had a shout out yet and you want to try and kind of figure out which ones that you're playing out in this timeline. Because as Loren and I always say to our clients, we can have so many different starseed origins around the universe, because the universe is billions of years old and we've had timelines everywhere. So it's all what resonates to you indicates that yes, you probably had a lifetime in that constellation with that species, but whatever you were doing there, the objective, the purpose that you had is now playing out in this timeline on Earth. And so we need to gather the wisdom from that lifetime with that species and let it unfold naturally as you step into your power and your alignment here in this current present timeline on Earth, which is exciting.
So exciting. I love that. It's beautiful.
All right, guys, are we done? We're done, Skip?
I think we're done.
What a podcast.
Awesome. Second podcast down.
See you, everybody. We'll see you soon. Thanks for joining and thanks for listening. Bye.